In chapters 1 through 4, Paul writes of man's need for righteousness and justification. He further tells us about salvation by faith in Jesus Christ. Now, in Romans 8, Paul introduces what even modern Christians need to understand: the certainty of suffering and of God's sustaining ministry through the Holy Spirit. Remember, Paul is explaining the theological foundations of Christianity to new Christians. Through the ministry of the Holy Spirit, we are joined with Christ so that we become the sons of God. Now, this relationship of sonship is the opposite of slavery. Rather than being subject to sin and death, Christians become heirs in the family of God. But Paul didn't want these Christians or us to think, now that we have changed our ways and accepted Christ, that all our problems are gone. Christ suffered. We will suffer, but it is that shared suffering and ministry of the Holy Spirit that binds us as Christians in one holy Christian family. Paul starts our lesson with a cost-benefit analysis, explaining that the benefits of sonship far outweigh the price we are called upon to pay as God's sons. In my teens, I didn't understand, but now that I've lived longer, I clearly understand what Paul means as he explains here that suffering is a universal experience of all of us, all of creation. Saint and sinner alike both experience the trials of the universe, and we can't avoid it. Paul therefore informs us that our suffering is a part of a bigger picture, the suffering of all of creation. Several timeless truths are taught here. 1, all creation groans, it suffers. Therefore, you're not alone in your suffering, in your trials. Creation has been from the very start in the process of deteriorating. This is a part of a divine plan. Our bodies bear testimony to the process of corruption. No matter how hard we exercise, how well we eat, our hair still thins, our skin dries. We find parts aching that we didn't even know we had. No matter how hard we try to resist or reverse the process of corruption, it is inevitable, leading to frustration as things don't quite work the same as they used to. Paul explains that creation is dying also. It started from the very beginning. But even with this divine decree of deterioration leading to frustration, we have an assurance and we have hope. Creation and Christians await the day we are redeemed from the chaotic consequences of sin, when our current conditions will be set aside and we are redeemed through the return of Jesus Christ. Sin dwells within our flesh and all around us, and it also causes us to groan because we want that deliverance, that redemption. It's sort of like a child waiting for Christmas Day. The longer we wait doesn't cause us to want our want to be lessened, our suffering to be lessened. In fact, the longer we wait, the more we groan, the more intense our waiting becomes. Let's pause here and put this lesson in its context. At this time, Christianity could be called a cult. They are viewed as dangerous by Jewish and Roman leaders alike. Paul is like a coach at halftime. He must inspire his people even in their suffering. Paul acknowledges that there will be moments when we get tired of suffering and waiting for Jesus as we see people who are doing wrong prosper. He reminds them that God's Spirit is still right there helping them. And if we don't know how and what to pray about, and I can assure you, there have been nights when I've been so confused, I didn't know what to ask God to do, how to help me. Paul asserts through his Holy Spirit, God will do our praying for us, making our prayers out of our wordless sighs, out of our aching and moaning and suffering. He knows us better than we know ourselves. Paul assures these suffering Christians in Rome, and he assures us, that God is ultimately in charge of all things. His authority is without limit, and all creation is under his control. God's sovereignty assures Christians then and now that he is working all things for our ultimate good. From the very beginning, God decided that those who would come to him would become his sons. And yes, he knew who would come to him. But if we are the ones that have decided to come to him, we become like his sons, and therefore we will be with Jesus, who will be first with many brothers. As his sons, we are filled with Christ-like goodness, and we are redeemed, so that one day we will know the full joy that comes with that redemption. That's the lesson for this week. Have a great week. Bye.